Girl, you won't believe this. He's got a huge one and I can't get enough. 3 times today. I'm practically walking bow-legged. Can you even stand it? That was the first thing I heard my wife saying. I stood frozen outside our apartment door, the words hitting me like a ton of bricks. Eleanor, my wife, was the picture of refinement. Or so I thought. I never imagined she could talk like that. But the real kicker came next. Once the divorce is final, I'll be rolling in dough. My boyfriend's a lawyer. He's taking care of everything. Wait, what? I thought she loved me. At that moment, the truth slapped me in the face. She'd never actually said those 3 words, had she? Just a whole lot of, "Me too, honey." She wouldn't be expecting me until tomorrow. That must be why she was so loose-lipped, so brazenly herself. I almost choked on the thought. I'd come home from my business trip early, a designer purse in tow, a surprise for her, and little did I know, a far bigger surprise awaited me. The purse burned a hole in my pocket. Not from the price tag. The sting came from how worthless it felt now. Eleanor's words wouldn't stop swirling in my head, a filthy little soundtrack to go with the designer bag. Buying her gifts was a ritual, a treat after another damn business trip. I owned the company. The trips were endless. And so were her smiles. The smiles I worked so hard to create. Don't get me wrong, I loved spoiling her, seeing her eyes sparkle over some overpriced accessory, but now, each label felt like a brand burned into my skin. No way I could face her like this, not tonight. I needed a hideout. And suddenly, only one place would do. The Drake. My favorite hotel, the one with the view overlooking the whole lake. I had to plan, to think. Tomorrow might be too late. Everything had changed. While drinking whiskey at the hotel bar, I still couldn't shake it. My wife, cheating. But hey, at least the apartment door was cracked. Got the lowdown straight from the source. Yeah, I love his green eyes, but I love his huge D more. Her words were a knife twisting in my gut. Who the hell was this guy? That dude I passed in the elevator earlier? The one who maybe kinda left our door open? It didn't matter, not right now. What mattered was a plan to save my company, the company I built before I even met her. But the plan wasn't coming. Hurt was winning out, and the whiskey was flowing a little too easily. My head pounded from the hangover of a lifetime, but that wasn't the only shock this morning. There she was, standing in my hotel room. Emily, my high school sweetheart. "What the hell are you doing here?" I snapped, the words raking my throat. She blinked. Then a look of pity. Pity crossed her face. "Geez, what's happened to you? This is the second time you've lost it." "What?" My brain was stuck in neutral. She smiled, a flicker of something I couldn't place. "Don't you remember? Watch where you're going, lady. That was you yesterday." Why was she still here? If I'd been that rude twice, what was her game? A wave of nausea hit me. Did we have sex last night? "Relax," she said, her voice cool. Nothing happened. It was almost like she'd read my mind. "Okay, cut the crap. Explain what's going on," I demanded, desperate to get rid of this weird feeling in my gut. "We must have had way too much last night," she said, her voice soft. The pieces were starting to click, not in a good way. "Look, I have no idea what you're talking about. Sorry for being rude. It's just a lot going on right now." Her eyes held a flicker of sympathy. "I know," she said quietly. and I'm so sorry for what happened." A chill ran down my spine. How did she know? Did I? The words were hard to choke out. Did I tell you everything? Every damn detail? Yes, you did. I must have blacked out, spilled my guts. This wasn't a story to share with anyone, let alone my high school ex. You came barreling at me like a runaway train, then had the nerve to yell, "Watch where you're going, lady." Then the real treat, you shoved me. Hard. Was about to unleash a verbal smackdown, and then bam, recognition hit us both. Your eyes went wide like saucers, apologies tumbling out like you'd swallowed a dictionary. Anything you wish, I'd like to buy it for you. Pity purchase, I figured, but hey, a girl's got to take advantage. The sting of "a girl's got to take advantage" echoed in my skull, a soundtrack to yesterday's train wreck of a memory. Emily must have seen the shame twisting my face. "So, master planner, figured it all out while you slept?" Her attempt at a joke was sharp, a twist of the knife disguised as lightheartedness. I was still wrestling with myself. Do I cut her loose? Or... Her voice broke my thoughts. "Let's talk plans over breakfast. This place is supposed to be great." A flicker of hope sparked. Why not? Maybe she can help. High school memories surfaced. Emily had always been sharp. A fresh perspective might be exactly what I needed. Breakfast arrived, and I made small talk to fill the awkwardness. "So, what do you do for a living?" She smiled, a slow, almost predatory smile. "You honestly don't remember, James?" "I'm a lawyer. Corporate law, specifically. Companies like yours." Her words, the emphasis on yours, made me uneasy. My lawyers were good, but this was personal, messy. I could use her help, the thought crept in, but I forced a smile. "A lawyer, you did it. I'm proud of you." A wave of nostalgia washed over me. We'd tried long distance in college, me with my tech dreams, her with law school. It hadn't been a dramatic breakup, more like a slow fade. Guess I fell out of love, I'd told myself back then. "James, as a lawyer, I'll do my best. But like I said last night, you need to weigh all the options carefully." She spoke matter-of-factly, but her eyes held a spark I couldn't quite decipher. The mind-reading paranoia flared up again. Was this some kind of act? "So," I began hesitantly, "what exactly happened last night? Refresh my memory?" "Emily, I'm so sorry for being rude. Funny thing, I met my wife the same way." Apparently, I'd spilled my whole damn story last night, the story of how I'd met my wife. "Watch where you're going, sir," she'd said, crisp and polite, like someone's old-school grandma. But there was an edge to it, too. Her whole look. The pressed skirt, the pearls, screamed a different era than all those girls in their torn jeans. I still couldn't tell if that bump was accidental, but knowing her now, well, let's just say I doubt it. The apology, the stunned reaction to her looks, offering dinner. She politely refused, but man, those manners were something else, hooked me right then and there. Even if her beauty alone could have done the job, I must have been desperate to apologize, because I remember saying, "I want to show you I'm so sorry," like that would change anything. Emily's voice cut through my thoughts. "Some women know how to play the game, James. You guys can be pretty easy sometimes." She was talking about my whole story, about ending up right back here, where I'd met Eleanor. She wasn't wrong. I'd ended up right back here, where I'd met Eleanor. So, there you were, unpacking all that drama, and suddenly it must have hit you. Emily knows her law stuff. You were fishing for some free advice, right? Emily tried to keep things light with a joke as she revisited the story from yesterday. Listen, I mentioned I'm a lawyer, but that didn't stop your barrage of what-ifs. Her voice faded, a hint of irritation flashing in her eyes. I shuffled uncomfortably in my seat, the weight of the situation pressing down on me. "I'm sorry, Emily," I managed to say, feeling a mix of gratitude and embarrassment. "So, did we manage to come up with any sort of plan yesterday?" I was grasping at straws, hoping she'd pulled a miracle plan out of the chaos of last night. Emily's smile was both reassuring and teasing. "All the plans you came up with weren't exactly viable," she said, "but I'm still here, ready to help. And don't worry, I've seen worse in my line of work. Your situation is tough, but not insurmountable." Her words sparked something in me, a memory of resilience and resourcefulness from the past. "Remember how I secured my first big business contract?" I said, a plan beginning to form in my mind. Emily leaned in, intrigued. "And?" "Well, back then, you were deep into your law studies, and I needed an LLC to secure that contract. I was out of town, meeting with the client, and you set up the LLC in your name and then transferred it to me." Emily's expression turned thoughtful. "Okay, I remember. But what's your point? How does that relate to now?" I leaned forward, excitement building as the pieces began to fit together. "What if we use a similar strategy? Create a sort of legal buffer, or maybe even a new entity that can safeguard the assets of the company. Something that makes it harder for Eleanor to claim a stake, especially given the circumstances of our impending divorce." Emily nodded slowly, her legal mind turning over the possibilities. "It's a start," she conceded, "but we'll need to be careful, very careful. This has to be done by the book, completely above board, or it could backfire spectacularly." I could see the wheels turning in her head, her professional instinct kicking in. "Let's go over everything. Your company structure, assets, everything. We need a full picture to devise a solid plan." The conversation shifted to technicalities, to strategies and legalities, but beneath it all was a current of something more, a rekindled connection, a shared goal. Emily was no longer just the high school sweetheart or the chance encounter from the night before. She was a lifeline, a beacon of hope in the storm that had become my life. As we talked, the weight on my shoulders began to lighten, replaced by a cautious optimism. Maybe, just maybe, with Emily's help, I could navigate this mess, protect what I'd built, and start anew. And perhaps, in this unexpected reunion, I'd found not just a legal ally, but a chance at personal redemption as well. After parting ways with Emily, my mind was racing with ideas. I couldn't let my soon-to-be ex-wife walk away with everything I'd worked so hard for. And then it struck me. Her Lexus. She adored that car, believed it was a symbol of her status. She had no idea I had been the one to make it all possible, managing the payments quietly in the background. Eleanor wasn't a car person. Heck, she could barely tell a Ford from a Chevy. But recently, she developed a sudden uncharacteristic fascination with a BMW M8 convertible, a luxury far beyond the practical elegance of her current ride. "I've done my research," she'd said with a coy smile. "You love BMWs, and as your loving wife, I want to match your tastes." The irony of her words, in light of her betrayal, wasn't lost on me. Piecing together Eleanor's sudden fixation on that convertible, It became clear to me that this extravagant desire had to have been inspired by her lover. Eleanor had never shown any particular interest in cars, let alone such a specific and luxurious model. This sudden change in taste was too convenient, too aligned with the kind of flashy statement her lover would want to make. Although I didn't have concrete proof at that moment that the car was intended as a promise to her lover, the suspicion gnawed at me. It was a calculated guess, but everything pointed in that direction. The convertible had to be his idea, a symbol of the lavish life he envisioned with Eleanor, possibly financed by my downfall. The thought of using her own scheme against her brought a cold sense of satisfaction. I might have been playing a dangerous game, but it was a necessary move in the chess match that our relationship had devolved into. During the phone call, I had to strike the perfect balance between disappointment and excitement. "Darling, it looks like this business trip is going to keep me tied up longer than expected. I'm not sure when I'll be back," I started, injecting a hint of regret into my voice. "But," I continued, shifting gears to a more upbeat tone, "I've got a fantastic surprise for you to make up for it. I know how much you've been eyeing that BMW M8 convertible, so I thought, why not? Let's go for it. There's a friend of mine interested in buying your Lexus, which works out perfectly. In the meantime, my driver will take care of you with the limo service until we get the BMW sorted out. How does that sound?" Eleanor's response was almost too enthusiastic, laced with the sweetness of someone who's just been promised the moon. "Oh, darling, that's incredible. You always know how to cheer me up. I'm completely on board with this. And don't worry about the trip. I understand how these things go. Just knowing I have the convertible to look forward to is more than enough for me." After ending the call, I couldn't help but feel a twinge of sadness for the love that had once been real between us, now polluted by lies and betrayal. But there was no turning back. The die had been cast. I had to protect what I had built from the ground up, and if that meant playing Eleanor's game, so be it. The ease with which she accepted the arrangement only deepened my suspicion and resolve. This was more than just a wife excited about a new car. It felt like a victory lap for her, possibly one she planned to share with her lover. But I'd make sure this victory was short-lived. As I ended the call, I was more determined than ever to see this through. I was aiming to leave her high and dry, and the game was already in motion. I briefed Emily on the situation later. Her reaction was a mix of professional detachment and personal insight. "You know, under different circumstances, I might say this isn't like the James I know. But after everything she's done to you, it feels like she's brought this on herself," she said, her tone reflecting a mix of sympathy and pragmatic support. Emily then leaned in, lowering her voice as if sharing a secret strategy. "Since you've got the driver at her beck and call, why not use that to our advantage? We could set up a hidden camera in the apartment. It's a long shot, but if we catch her and her lover plotting against you, that footage could be gold in court." The idea resonated with me immediately. It was bold, slightly risky, but it felt like the right move. By the next day, the plan was in motion, a discreet operation to unveil Eleanor's true intentions. Once the hidden camera was in place, I knew I couldn't just sit back and wait for Eleanor's next move. With the threat of divorce looming, I reached out to Emily, keen on brainstorming a new strategy face to face. Considering moving the big assets into trusts or other legal structures, it could effectively shield them from Eleanor, Emily considered, nodding thoughtfully at the plan. "Emily, I need a favor beyond legal advice this time," I ventured. laying my cards on the table. Remember how you were listed as the company owner when I landed our first major client? Temporarily transferring assets to you could keep things under the radar. James, I understand you're trying to cover all your bases, Emily cautioned, her tone serious. But what you're asking is a big step. We're venturing into tricky territory here. I really need you on this, Emily, I pushed, feeling the urgency of the situation. You've been a huge help already, but this is different. Having you temporarily hold the assets wouldn't look suspicious, given our history. James, I know you're all about playing it safe as a businessman, Emily responded, her concern evident. But this request is a lot. It's more complicated than just making a safe play. Emily, I know I'm asking for a lot, and I wouldn't if I didn't trust you completely. We've been through thick and thin, and you've always had my back. This isn't just about protecting my assets. It's about safeguarding the future of everyone who depends on this company. Our employees, their families, our clients. You're not just helping me, you're helping all of them. Remember when you helped me start all this? You didn't just do it as a lawyer. You did it as a friend who believed in me. I need that friend again, Emily. After a moment of reflection, Emily's expression softened, signaling her agreement. All right, James. For the sake of our past and the future of the company, I'm in. Let's be meticulous and ensure we're bulletproof in our approach. Once Emily was on board, we hit the ground running. The first thing we did was get the company's ownership transferred to her name. It was a big move, but crucial for keeping the business out of Eleanor's reach. With Emily's legal know-how, we made sure every I was dotted and every T was crossed to lock this down tight. We were all in, ready to go. After we wrapped up the legal stuff with Emily, I finally had a chance to check the hidden camera footage. What I found blew me away, but in a way it was exactly what I needed. There they were, Eleanor and her guy, chilling after their hookup, and they start yapping about the BMW. Her guy goes, "This was a cakewalk. Once we're done milking this guy, we could seriously quit the scam life for good. No mark has ever been this loaded. I'll snag the BMW and then, babe, you can pick out whatever set of wheels you want." That's when it hit me. This wasn't just some fling. It was a full-scale hustle, and I was the jackpot. But with this footage, I suddenly had the upper hand. It wasn't just about safeguarding my assets anymore. This could land them in some serious hot water. After seeing the footage, I couldn't wait to show it to Emily. She jumped into action, getting the cops involved right away. Next thing we knew, Eleanor and her sidekick were wearing handcuffs, facing some serious time. Man, I was over the moon, but also kicking myself for getting played like that. How did I not see it coming? Turned out, Eleanor was running a whole scam, targeting rich folks at fancy hotels. Once the law got involved, all their dirty laundry came out, and they got slapped with a bunch of charges. After the whole fiasco with Eleanor and her scamming ways got cleared up, thanks to the cops piling on the charges, I figured it was time for some R&R. So, I asked Emily out to celebrate over some top-notch grub. Throughout dinner, there was something in the way she looked at me that wasn't just friendly. It was like there was something more, something deeper. Made me wonder if I was missing out on a second chance at something real. That dinner got me thinking. Maybe, just maybe, there was a shot at a fresh start with Emily. You know, back in the day, I thought I'd fallen out of love, but maybe I was just fooling myself. Seeing Emily again, after all the drama with my ex and her con artist boyfriend, I felt like I was finally waking up, seeing things clearly for the first time in ages. So, I took a leap and asked Emily out, not exactly calling it a date, but hoping it might turn into one. But then, all those doubts crept in. Man, after everything with my ex, why am I diving headfirst into this? I was beating myself up, wondering why I didn't have more ways to reach Emily besides just her number. 4 days went by without a word, and there I was, feeling like I'd gambled away my company trying to protect it from my ex. When I found out about my ex's cheating, I had a game plan. But this time, I was lost at sea, no plan, no clue. I thought Emily and I had something real brewing, but with her gone, all that hope seemed to fizzle out. The only thing left to do was hit the hotel bar, try to drown out the mess of my thoughts with a stiff drink. But the whiskey might as well have been water for all the good it did. Just when I thought I'd hit rock bottom, feeling every kind of stupid and lost, I felt a tap on my shoulder. And there she was, Emily, standing there with that smile that could turn a day around. "Hey, I'm really sorry for dropping off like that," she started, all apologetic. "Had to rush home 'cause my dad got real sick out of nowhere. And then, to top it all off, I lost my phone on the flight. It's been nonstop with my dad. Didn't even get a chance to replace my phone." She went on, telling me her dad was on the mend now, and the first thing she did once things settled down was head back to the city. Still without a new phone, she took a chance, hoping to run into me at the hotel. "Figured you might be around here," she said, looking like she could eat a horse. Hearing Emily's story, all my doubts and frustrations started to melt away. It wasn't that she didn't care or that what I felt was one-sided. Life had just thrown a curveball her way. Sitting there, watching her dive into a meal like she hadn't eaten in days, I couldn't help but feel a wave of relief wash over me. We spent the rest of the evening catching up, laughing about the old days, and swapping stories about everything we'd missed in each other's lives. It felt like no time had passed at all, yet here we were, with so much to talk about. As the night wound down, I realized that maybe this was exactly what I needed. A fresh start, not just in love, but in life. "Emily, I've been doing some thinking," I started, feeling a bit nervous, but knowing it was now or never. "After everything that's happened, I've realized life's too short to hold back. I don't want to miss out on a second chance. With you." Emily looked at me, a soft smile spreading across her face. "James, I felt the same way. I was just too scared to say anything, especially with everything you were going through." So, there we were, two old friends on the brink of something new. We decided to take things slow, to make sure we weren't just rebounding or caught up in the moment. But as days turned into weeks, and weeks into months, it became clear that what we had was real. Fast forward, and life's looking pretty bright. My company's back on track, stronger than ever, and as for Emily and me, let's just say we're planning more than just dinner dates these days. Who would have thought that out of all that chaos, I'd find my way back to someone who'd been there from the start? Guess it just goes to show, sometimes you gotta go through the storm to find your sunshine.
If this story resonated with you, please consider subscribing, hitting the like button, and leaving a comment to show your support. Your engagement helps tremendously and encourages more stories like this one. Thank you for being a part of this journey.